Hello, welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon, and today I'm going to give my on second thought on Pulp Fiction. So this is your spoiler warning. I'm going to be going into this plot and kind of diving through it and giving even some fan theories about it. So if you haven't seen it yet, you should go watch it. It is a great movie, and then come back and we can talk about it then. I also did a movie theory video on this already, so you can look for that. I'll link it below. So in case you don't know, Pulp Fiction is Quentin Tarantino's second movie. It's starring Samuel L. Jackson, John Travolta, Uma Thurman, and Bruce Willis. It's about three slightly connected stories that all kind of revolve around a central theme. Watching this the first time, I didn't understand it at all, and I had to spend some time kind of Googling what other people thought of it and trying to figure out different fan theories and what the point was. Because at point blank range, just watching it face value the first time, it seems like a ultimately pointless movie. Entertaining, but pointless. And for me, that's not a good enough reason to really love a movie. So I didn't understand why so many people loved the movie. After doing some more research and looking at fan theories and stuff, I kind of came up with a hybrid version of those different theories, and I have talked about that in a movie theory, but I will go over it briefly here. So essentially you've got three plots. You've got John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson, you've got John Travolta and Uma Thurman, and then you've got Bruce Willis. And if this movie was just the first two, it would make sense, face value, why these two are connected. But then you've got Bruce Willis's story, and other than a brief moment where Bruce Willis actually kills John Travolta's character, there doesn't seem to be any kind of a connection, and you're wondering why that was even shown. Like, you would think that Bruce Willis's story would just be its own movie, and him killing John Travolta might be an Easter egg. Like, ooh, this is connected, but why else would this be in the same movie? It doesn't seem to make sense until you look more into the movie theories and the different fan theories about it. So my interpretation of what this movie is about comes down to that conversation between Samuel L. Jackson's character and John Travolta's character, where they talk about divine intervention. So you've got three different characters simultaneously having different events happening around them that all seem to be connected in some weird way, and everything is going right or wrong for them. So there's three different approaches and perspectives you can have on all these different connected events happening around you. You can think of it as divine intervention, which Samuel L. Jackson does. You can think of it as luck or chance, which is what John Travolta's character does, or you can just not acknowledge it all and just think that's life, which is what Bruce Willis's character does. So Samuel L. Jackson notices these changes, and because he believes it's divine intervention, he makes a change in his lifestyle that then helps him essentially not die, as far as we can tell. He moves on with his life and does something hopefully bigger and better. If not bigger, it's at least something more productive in his life. John Travolta sees these things happening and decides that he's going to wave it off, ignore it, and because of that, he then has his run with Bruce Willis's character, where he actually dies due to happenstance, which is when he's in the bathroom just at the wrong time, happens to get shot. And then you have Bruce Willis, who just walks through life with all of these things happening exactly right just for him, and doesn't notice it. And yes, if this was any other movie that wasn't connected to those other pieces, you would just say, yeah, movies always work that way. Movies always have a certain level of happenstance that works for the main character because it's the story. If there was no story, there would be no movie, so there has to be certain events happening in a certain way, or the story would be boring or end too quickly or whatever. So of course, that's just life. Yes, but because it's connected to the other two stories, you know that this is a third perspective on that. And that was the hardest piece to put into this puzzle, but looking at it that way, I think it makes the most sense. So the plot and its meaning out of the way, what do I think about this movie? I absolutely love it. Even when I didn't have a meaning behind it, which I craved one, I loved the movie and I didn't know why. And looking back on it, it is just because it's Tarantino. And it wasn't the first Tarantino movie I saw or anything, but his style is so much fun and so infectious and so enjoyable with these different characters who are not talking like people you're used to seeing in movies talk. These characters talk kind of like real people in a weird way. They do talk like Tarantino, so they're talking like a real person who happens to be weird, but they are talking like real people. Like, you've got that scene with Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta where they're just talking about burgers. They're going to interrogate a guy and eventually kill a guy, and they're just talking about burgers because they're two guys that are used to doing this horrible, heinous thing, so they're not talking about anything overly serious. They're just making small talk because they're bored and they're two co-workers on a job like anybody else who would be with somebody that they know doing a job. You're going to be talking about something random. And so I really enjoy little things like that Tarantino has adapted in his style. I talked about how in Reservoir Dogs that he does have cool bits of dialogue, but it felt forced in Reservoir Dogs. In Pulp Fiction, it feels natural and it just flows out, and that's one of the reasons why Pulp Fiction is just so good. And this whole movie is filled with great characters, with great dialogue, and that's what makes the movies that Tarantino makes so amazing, and this one is debatably his best one. I know that I personally talked about that it's not my favorite one, but it's most people's favorite ones, and I'm okay with people saying that because there's no reason to tell people they're wrong. It just comes down to personal preference at that point because he has so many great movies. And I should say I'm not an Uma Thurman fan. I'm not specifically a John Travolta fan either, but both of them, because of Tarantino's great directing, are actually really enjoyable in this movie. And so that's just a testament to him, because Samuel L. Jackson or Bruce Willis to a lesser extent being good in a movie isn't surprising because they're good actors. Samuel L. Jackson is a great actor, one of the best of this generation. But John Travolta and Uma Thurman, who are lesser actors, you are surprised when they hold their own and are just as good as the other actors. And that's another great thing about Tarantino, is not only does he give a perfect set piece, he gives a perfect script, and then he helps and enables these actors to then portray his vision so perfectly. Not only does he have this perfect mold that he's putting them into, he then helps puppeteer them in a way, which sounds weird now that I say it out loud, but essentially everybody is acting according to his vision, and his vision is brilliant. Now, of course, the elephant in the room that I haven't addressed yet is the briefcase. What is the briefcase? I don't know. It's something beautiful. It's something life-changing. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it symbolizes. I don't think it needs to mean anything in particular. You just need to know that it matters to these characters. In reality, it was a couple of light bulbs. I don't know what it really was supposed to represent in this movie, but like I said, this movie is about how people perceive things and how people react to the things that they perceive. It's not about what they perceive, it's not about what the events are, it's about how you choose to look at it and how you react to it. So the fact that there's a briefcase with a glowing golden light coming out of it, it's interesting, but I don't know that it's supposed to even have a real meaning to it. I even think Tarantino said something along those lines, like, it doesn't have a real answer. He doesn't even know what was in that briefcase. He just had that as a plot point. It wasn't something he actually really thought that deeply about because it was just something that was supposed to be there to move the plot forward. So there are a lot of fan theories and different theories about what it actually is, but I don't have one because I personally don't care. I think that that's just a plot device, and what really matters is the people in the movie. And like I said, the characters are great. I enjoy every character in this movie, whether they're supposed to be enjoyable or they're supposed to be annoying. I enjoy them as those specific characters. There's even a cameo by Tim Roth who's awesome in this movie. There's another cameo by Harvey Keitel who's awesome in this movie. There's a cameo by Quentin Tarantino, as there are in, I think, all of his movies. And they're all great. They're all quirky, they're all original, and they're all different in their own way. And this movie is just great. I don't know how else to say it. You've seen it plenty of times on everybody's like best movies of all time list. It's on mine too. This movie is just practically perfect. So that's what I thought of it. I know that it wasn't the most in-depth study of certain aspects of it because, like I said, I think that's more about the perspective thing and not more about the reality of the briefcase and all of that. There's plenty more videos you can look up, or you can just watch it and come up with your own scenario. But that's just what I thought. But let me know in the comments below what you guys think, if you have your own theory about it, or you just want to talk about how much you love it or not. Let me know in the comments below. Thanks, guys. Bye.